Satang Prasanga.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to today's session. How are you doing? I pray that all is well with you and your families at this time. So today we're moving on to a new letter. It's a letter to Madhav Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. And he was very favorable to Prabhupada preaching in the West. And then they would write back and forth. He would even read Prabhupada's books. He was very intrigued by the Back to Godhead magazine, actually. So wonderful personality. And I thought it will also give us insight into someone who actually appreciated Srila Prabhupada's work, being from the Gaudiya Math. Because remember, we know the struggle that Prabhupada had. He didn't have any support. Each time he wrote to people, they wouldn't reply, or it was, if they replied, it was a negative reply. So here was somebody who was really appreciating what he was doing as a preacher. So this beautiful letter by Madhav Maharaj starts at the top. Letter to Madhav Maharaj, dated January 21st, 1970, location Los Angeles. Letter to Madhav Maharaj, and then he writes the date in reverse. Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, 35 Satish Mukherjee Road, Calcutta, 26. Note also how the spelling of Calcutta in the old days to now they write it as Kolkata, K-O-L. So more the intonation of the Bengali accent. Prabhupada goes on here, India, and then he starts the letter. My dear Shripad Madhav Maharaj, please accept my humble dandavats. I thank you very much for your encouraging letter dated 11 January 1970. This is very nice as well for us to see another side of Prabhupada, that of which when he was associating with his godbrothers, how would he relate? He would not relate as an acharya, as a big person. No, humble. There's beautiful pastimes of when he would meet Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, his godbrother in Vrindavan. They were like two little boys. They would laugh and giggle and joke, and devotees are looking at this and saying, this is Prabhupada? Wow! So when they would relate like two little boys, just playful, like two little cowherd boys, playful, joking, and always teasing. And, there's a special rasa that's there. But so we won't see that side of Prabhupada unless somebody brings out that side. So here in this letter, Prabhupada is writing to his godbrother. So look at how he addresses him, very respectfully. My dear Shripad Madhav Maharaj, very, lots of awe and reverence, respect, because he's speaking to another godbrother and also a preacher. So we see that mood. Amanina manadena, kirtanya sadahari, that to give respect to everyone without wanting respect in return. Because in the West, Prabhupada would get so much of respect. We can see in his mood and in his exchange with his godbrothers, very humble. Amanina, not wanting any respect for himself, knowing that he's simply serving the mission of his Guru Maharaj and what his Guru Maharaj wanted. So Prabhupada goes on to say, encouraging letter dated 11 January 1970 from Guwahati. It is so very much pleasing that you are preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya throughout northern India, beginning from Lahore to Guwahati. So this is a very big tract of land. It's almost about 2,000 kilometers, this area here. And Guwahati we have a famous center there now. is about maybe 1,000 kilometers from Mayapur, and it's in the state of Assam. And Lahore is maybe about 1,800, maybe about, it's quite far. It's definitely over 1,500 kilometers from Mayapur. And it's more in the state of Punjab, western border of Punjab. So it's a huge area that he's working in and he's preaching in. But note the difference that he's preaching in mainly Bengali predominant areas, but he's making a super effort. He's preaching in areas, Assam is mainly like Bengali kind of people, so the language and the culture is very easy there. Prabhupada is preaching in completely different circumstances. Therefore, Madhav Maharaj, as a preacher, can appreciate that if it's so difficult, where we're preaching to our own culture, our own language, and yet they can't accept it. So how it will be to preach to Westerners? How it will be to preach to Westerners who are young children almost, and they're taking to the process. So he was very appreciative of Srila Prabhupada, and he was very appreciative of the efforts of Srila Prabhupada in trying to please Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Similarly, I am also trying my best to execute this service in my humble capacity as far as possible. So you can see Prabhupada is appreciating what he's doing and saying, I'm also trying. I'm an old man now, 69 when he went. So he's definitely over 70 now. And you know, who can, Prabhupada would say, oh, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada would say that I tried when I was old. So if something good comes from it, then people say, oh, wow, fantastic. And if something bad comes from it and oh, nothing happens, then they'll say, okay, he was an old man. What do you expect? He was an old man who tried. What do you expect? So there's no loss. So therefore, he just tried. So Prabhupada goes on to say, you will be pleased to know that very recently we are going to send some preachers to Australia. We have got already our center in Tokyo, and I am sending 2 devotees, one from Tokyo and another from here, Los Angeles, to Sydney, Australia. So Prabhupada is sharing with him what he's doing, and this is what happens when preachers get together. And you know, those who are preaching know, we're eager to know, what are you trying, what's working, because each time the message is definitely the same, but the packaging is definitely going to change. Like now we're moving into the modern technology where everything is online. That time there wasn't even a computer. Just yesterday I was speaking to one of my godbrothers who is serving as a temple president, and he was sharing with me that they're going to be launching this new app very soon, which encompasses everything on the project, everything on the temple, and so many different features. So I was appreciating so much this wonderful new way of preaching and reaching out to people. I actually had a look at it. I think it's going to be launched tomorrow, actually. So wonderful presentation, really comprehensive and really user-friendly, and I really encourage you to, download it. You'll hear about it soon. So I really encourage you to download it and see the benefits that are there available for your sadhu sangha. So Prabhupada is also sharing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm trying to do, what are you doing there, and you know, what's working. The preachers are always exchanging ideas like this to see what's working. So Prabhupada writes here, I hope you will kindly bestow your blessings for successful execution of this new adventure. So, you know, to go to Australia in those days and to preach there to those devotees or anywhere in the world, but to go to these places it was so difficult, and Prabhupada was appreciating so much the efforts of his disciples to absorb and imbibe his mood of preaching. So he's sharing with his godbrother here, we're trying in Australia now, give us your blessings please. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, Srila Prabhupada, this is now Bhaktisiddhanta, who is he talking about? Srila Prabhupada sent his disciples for preaching work mostly as Brahmacharis and Sanyasis. But I have adopted the method of sending young married couples for such preaching work. Just see. So indirectly, Prabhupada is also sharing that because Malti Mataji speaks about this when the devotees went to London, and we just read Yamuna's letter the other day. So Prabhupada is saying, my Guru Maharaj is sending Brahmacharis and Sanyasis. I'm sending grihasthas. So it was not to criticize, no, it was to glorify. Just see that I am receiving so much of mercy from my Guru Maharaj to do this work, that even grihasthas are coming forward to do the work of sannyasis. Preaching is the work of sannyasis. But ISKCON devotees have even grihasthas do the best preaching and outreach. So Prabhupada is sharing with Madhav Maharaj, just see, I'm sending young married couples, he says. Firstly, all three of those are not favorable not in the mood of preaching, let's put it that way. They're young, which means they're definitely not in the mood of preaching. They're married, forget about it, they're grihasthas. And they preaching. Just see, they're Westerners and they're preaching. So Prabhupada was so pleased with his disciples, and he's sharing with Madhav Maharaj this point. But he's saying with humility that I'm finding this to work. So I'm sure if Madhav Maharaj tries this there in Assam, no, forget it. I don't think it's going to be as effective. So, the Western devotees were Prabhupada's dancing white elephants, he would call them. Prabhupada would say, elephant is rare, but a white elephant is even more rare. And if it's dancing, oh! So Prabhupada used that term so affectionately for his Western disciples. Prabhupada goes on to say, and you will be pleased to know that this system in these countries has proved more effective. So Prabhupada is saying, by doing this in the Western countries, it's more effective than if sannyasis come here. So he's just sharing, how he is able to achieve what he is doing. Prabhupada goes on to say, I am very much pleased to know that sometimes you enjoy the writing in my magazine Back to Godhead, and I am sure that you are getting these regularly every month. Both your Calcutta and Vrindavan addresses are on the complimentary list. I understand also that Mr. and Mrs. B.K. Deary, who came to your Kolkata mott to meet you, take interest in our magazine. And if you send me their address, we shall be pleased to send them complimentary copies. So Prabhupada is appreciating, thank you for reading my Back to Goddess magazine. So, because what is the knowledge there? Is it different from what Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada is giving? No. Knowledge is same, packaging is slightly different according to the times. So we know Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada wrote The Harmonist, like a newspaper. And he would send that regularly to all over the place. Now Prabhupada is doing magazines. And now in our time, what we are doing? Online preaching. Same thing. Message changed? No. Same message. Packaging changed? Yes. Slightly. Slightly. In our era, changed a lot actually. Into electronic media, not just mainstream media like newspapers and periodicals. So Prabhupada goes on to say, I am so much obliged to you that all of our God brothers are happy to learn about my activities in the West. So he's saying that, but we know they were not actually happy. There was a lot of envy, that because Prabhupada wasn't like the topmost sannyasi in the lot. He wasn't like a GBC member, some big timer. He was a simple-hearted sannyasi within the Gaudiya Math. So, but his heart was dedicated to the message of Bhaktisiddhanta. So he's just sending out this to say, tell them also, that I'm not having any bad feelings, but at least they can give me some blessings. Then for the outreach that I'm doing, I'll appreciate at least that much from them, because this is indirectly hinting on the response that he's getting from everyone else, which is not good. But here's a God brother who is actually appreciating his work. So this was very encouraging. Prabhupada goes on to say, actually whatever is happening, it is due to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So he's glorifying his Guru Maharaj. He's saying all that is his doing. It's not that I'm doing and I'm just the instrument here. Nametra matrayana bhava savyasachi. Just be the instrument, Arjun. But Guru Maharaj is giving all these boys and girls to meet so that they can, and I'm engaging them in this service of Lord Chaitanya. So he goes on to say, because personally I am completely incapable. So his humility again, Prabhupada is personally I'm just old man, incapable. So we're seeing Prabhupada's humility again here with his God brothers. He never pushed himself forward that I'm preaching in the West, you guys are just preaching here in Assam. Nothing like that. He just appreciated that they appreciated his work, and he asked their blessings, and he acknowledged the work that they're doing as well. So the letter goes on to an inquiry, and I think we will address that tomorrow. So please join us again tomorrow. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good day today. Hare Krishna.